Today, I'm going to talk to you about 5 reasons why you should never get a job in the charity sector. Now, for those people who know me, you might find this a strange thing for me to be talking about because I actually run a charity sector careers group on LinkedIn and I'm a big advocate of charity careers. I've been a mentor for several young people setting off in the charity sector, and I've had a rewarding career so far in the charity sector myself. But because I've worked for a variety of sectors, the charity sector, the public sector, the private sector, I feel I've got a bit of perspective on what it is that makes the charity sector unique and what isn't unique about it. And also I've really seen that I think there are some people that come into the charity sector with the wrong attitude. Now, there are people who think that nobody in the sector should ever be paid. That's very much a view that I don't subscribe to. But I'm not going to go into that argument here. That could probably be a very lengthy video on its own. What I'm going to do, though, is just talk to you today briefly about 5 points, 5 reasons why I think you should never join the charity sector. So the first one is if you want to do things for people rather than work with them. And what I mean by that really is some people have this sort of Victorian idea of charity where great goods are bestowed from above and great acts of kindness are given to people who are poorer than yourself. And I think some people still have this attitude. I think some people still think that the way in which charity should operate is that there are some vulnerable people somewhere down there, and there are some people who have better ideas, perhaps more educated, etc., somewhere else, and those people should actually help the people who their cause is supporting and help them in such a way that they don't do things for themselves, but that they're told, okay, this is the way you need to improve your life. Now, obviously, I don't think that's a very good idea, and I think it gives people a misleading understanding of what the charity sector should be about. So if you believe in that, if you think that you should bestow these acts of kindness on a grateful public, I think it would be better if you never join the sector, and I think it would be better for the charity you'd be working for if you never join the sector. Number 2 is really if you think it's all about you, and it really isn't about you. Working for a charity isn't about you. You can be proud of your role, you can be proud about your skills, you can be proud about the difference you make, you can be proud of the work of your charity, but it isn't really about you. It's about the charity, it's about the cause, it's about the beneficiaries, it's about the reasons why your charity was set up in the first place, but it isn't about you. And you really need to leave your ego at the door. And if you manage to leave your ego at the door, it's more likely that you're going to make a difference for people. And if you don't leave your ego at the door, and I've certainly seen examples of that, unfortunately, during my time in the sector, then you're not going to be able to have the impact that you should be having on the cause that you care deeply about. The third reason why you should never join the charity sector is if you think the charity sector is an easy option. I sometimes get the impression that people who come from the cutthroat world of the private sector think, charities just need to be shaken up a bit, they're inefficient, the private sector manage things much more efficiently. And actually, that's not true. It can be true in some cases, but there's many charities that are run on incredibly professional lines. There's charities who make incredible improvements to the world based on a very small amount of money. They're amazing at budgeting. They're amazing at squeezing the last they can out of resources to make a difference. And a career in the charity sector isn't easy. It's not an easy sector to get into. It's not an easy sector necessarily to see clear career paths through. Sometimes you have to be quite clever about the way in which you advance your own career and try to build in your own learning. It's not an easy thing. And yet some people think it's very easy. And I think those people, it also best advised not to join the sector because they're going to get a nasty shock and they're not going to be able to make the difference in the charity sector that they want to. The fourth reason for me is if you only care about a particular charity rather than a cause. And this is a big bugbear of mine because it's something I've never really understood. I got involved in the charity sector because I wanted to make a difference, and I joined the charity that was the first charity I worked for because it was an issue I cared about. It was a charity that supported lonely and isolated older people. And I really cared about that. And in fact, when I told my mother that I had a job at the charity, she told me that my own grandmother had been a beneficiary of the organisation, not something I realised when I was applying for the role. So it was a cause that resonated with me, and it was something that I thought was very important. However, it wasn't that I just cared about that charity, I cared about the cause. So when I saw other charities working on a similar or the same issue, I wanted to work with them. When I saw causes that I could, charities that I could support around the same cause, I wanted to do something about that. Some people, to me, just think about their charity. So whatever their charity is, if it's a health charity or a younger person's charity, or it's a gender-based charity or an environmental charity, they care about their charity, but they don't necessarily care about the wider cause. And for me, if you do that, I don't think you should join the charity sector either. And here I am, I'm not, obviously I don't, sometimes people say to me when I express these views, but who are you to judge who should and shouldn't join the charity sector? And I say, I'm nobody. This is just my opinion. Of course, you can have all these 5 things that I think are bad and join the charity sector, and you might make a great career out of it. But these are my observations about what I think is important. The 5th and final one is if you think that working for a charity somehow makes you a virtuous person, it doesn't. And charities don't have a monopoly on virtue. There are private companies doing great work, there's governmental agencies doing great work, there's people doing great work without calling it charity. Obviously there's social enterprises, and in the UK there's KICs and all sorts of things. But charities don't have a monopoly on virtue and good. They do fantastic things, and in some cases I think charities are the most appropriate way to further a cause or to support people. But I think that some people think because they work for a charity they have a special type of virtue. That's a very dangerous thing. We're all fallible people. We all make mistakes. We all have good days and bad days. We all have days when we excel at our jobs, and hopefully at least, and we all have days where we don't do so well at our jobs. We all have failures, and it's good and instructive to have failures because it means you're taking some risk and it's something you can learn from. If though we think we're so virtuous, we're going to seem stuck up, it's going to seem like we think too much of ourselves, and again, we're not going to be able to make the difference for the causes that we really care about. So finally, to wrap up, I'd say you should definitely join the charity sector if you're interested. I think you should consider the 5 points that I put forward and speak to people in the sector and find out what it's really like. Enter the sector with open eyes. Enter the sector thinking that you're going to make a difference, but that it isn't about you. Enter the sector in a collaborative frame of mind. How can you work with people outside of the sector? How can you work with people in other charities? And remember as much as possible as you can to have humility towards your work, to be humble in your relations with other people, and to realise that the cause and the initiative and the progress is something much bigger than yourself. Hope you found this video useful. Some people might find it a bit controversial. As I say, I don't think I have all the answers. This is just my opinion. Please do join the sector, and please do make a difference in the world. Thank you very much.